Will the Buccaneers, Saints, or Falcons make the postseason in the NFC South? Who's going to win the division? It's the race for the NFC South. This is Tony Dungy and Mike Florio on Pro Football Talk, NFL and NBC. This is the second NFL and NBC video we have done this week, so everyone should be sleeping pretty good. All right, let's go ahead and listen to what they got to say.
All right, NFC South, somebody's got to finish it off as the champion. It's probably going to be one team and one team only making it to the playoffs. Second-place team is likely going to be not good enough to get in.
True.
You know, I'm sure the barbershop down there was pretty happy about what was going on early in the season with the Buccaneers. They were looking like a team that could get back to the playoffs and make a lot of noise. I picked them before the season to go to the NFC Championship.
What an idiot. So we got a little bit of a convergence of crazy stuff happening in the NFC South. Tampa Bay, good but injured. Atlanta, not good but in the pole position. The Saints, 7-game losing streak. So all those things are happening, and now we basically have a 5-week race to who's going to win this division. The Saints, they need Atlanta and Tampa to struggle. They're going to need a couple of losses that they shouldn't have somewhere in there for Atlanta and for Tampa. Bottom line, they need some help. If everything plays out how it should and there's no crazy upsets or crazy winning streaks or whatever, then yeah, the Saints are going to fall short of the NFC South. So a little bit of magic needs to happen.
They've fallen on some adversity, but don't look now. The Falcons have lost 2 in a row. You look at the standings. Even though the Falcons accomplished the head-to-head sweep of Tampa Bay, the Bucs have a chance coming out of the bye. Remember 4 years ago with Tom Brady coming out of the bye?
Not just the Bucs, the Saints also. Like I said, the Saints do need some help, but there is a chance there. The Falcons in pole position, but might be the most vulnerable, might be the most. If you're looking at all 3 teams, not counting the Panthers, if you're looking at all 3 teams, the Falcons are probably the team that's falling the most. The Bucs may be like plateauing. The Saints are certainly on the upward trend, but the Falcons are in a dangerous position.
6-6 or something like that. They really didn't turn it on that year until late in the season. Do you believe in the Bucs' ability to turn it on, get Mike Evans back, figure things out, and maybe pick off the Falcons?
That's the key. 2 big things have to happen. Mike Evans is practicing. They've got to get him back, get that explosiveness back in the offense. Defensively, they've got to find some pass rush. But you mentioned the barbershop. My son, we've got...
What the hell is Tony Dungy doing in a barbershop? I mean, I don't want to be that guy, but... I mean, he's got to be the cheap... I mean, it's got to be the quickest haircut in human history. What does he go to the barbershop? I mean, like, what's... I mean, am I missing something here?
Christmas pictures coming up, so my son Jason's in the barbershop, and we had it all figured out there. They've got to win 6, the Bucs do. And look at this schedule now. They've got the Giants, the Raiders, the Panthers twice, the Cowboys, and the Saints. That's 6.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the Saints have to beat the Bucs, but the Saints are going to need some combination of Panthers, Giants, Raiders to surprise these teams. Like, the Saints dropped the game that they could not drop on the road to Carolina. If the Saints would have won that game, 5 wins, they're 3-2 in the division, it's all in front of them. By losing that game, not only do you lose a divisional game, not only do you lose probably the easiest game on your schedule, but you make it very difficult. For yourself. And that's where they're at now, where they're going to, I mean, some combination of Desmond Ridder, Bryce Young, and, Tommy DeVito is going to be the answer for the Saints.
6 winnable games. They play the Chargers. That'll be tough, but they could win 6 out of 7. If Atlanta loses 3 and the Bucs win 6, they're in. Atlanta's got the Chargers, at the Vikings, at the Commanders. So those are 3 losable games. Everything goes by paper. The Bucs have a chance. But to me, the big thing is getting Mike Evans back and getting some explosiveness back in the passing game.
And I misspoke. The Bucs were 7-5 going into their bye week. They lost to the Chiefs at home to fall to 7-5. But then it was after the bye week. 4 games left. They won their last 4 regular season games, carried that into the postseason. That was in 2020. And the next thing you know, they are the champions, avenging the loss to the Chiefs with a win in Super Bowl 55. And I'm with you. And look, I like the personality of the team. Baker Mayfield, what he brings to the table. They've been competitive in these games. They're kind of like the NFC's version of the Bengals, where they've.
I will say too, the Bucs definitely had the hardest schedule early on. Like their schedule at the beginning of the year was very difficult. Their loss is tough.
Just had things go haywire, and they've lost heartbreaking games. 2 overtime games, flip the coin, it comes up the wrong way, and the other team gets.
It's also crazy with the Bucs because, like, look who they beat. Beat Detroit, smoked Detroit, not in the box score, and beat Philly. Like, that's pretty impressive.
The ball and they score a touchdown. What can you do about that?
Yeah, no, that's where they've been. And the 2 games against Atlanta may come back to haunt them. They had the Chiefs where you score, and everybody in Tampa, everybody watching the game is saying, go for 2, win the game right here. You don't go for 2, you tie it up and lose in overtime. But this is a team that could conceivably win 6 out of the last 7.
I mean, four road games out of 5 is tough. Like, that's not easy for any team.
Get hot and be right there in the playoffs.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun stretch for the Falcons and the Bucs. And also, the Saints are lurking at 4-7. Not that anyone's going to give the Saints a chance, but they have a more deserving spot on the in the hunt column than the Panthers because they've won 2 in a row with Darren Rizzi as the interim coach. And I don't know, how fleeting is that? You make a guy the interim coach, you can just feel that he's injected enthusiasm into the team. Can that last, or is it kind of, does it fizzle out fairly quickly?
I think the vibes thing, like, and I think it's kind of shortchanging Rizzi, but if we're talking about just that interim coach bump, I think it lasts until you lose. If they beat the Rams, there is going to be some insane belief in that locker room. Some insane belief if they go and beat the Los Angeles Rams in the Superdome on December 1st. It'll be like, okay, we can actually do this. Now, if they lose, that might be the air out of the balloon. And I'm not saying that they're going to turn on Rizzi or any of that stuff, but that might be it as far as like that groundswell of belief that happens right whenever Rizzi becomes the head coach. So, for the Bucs and the Falcons, it's like, okay, you got to string together these games. You can't lose 3. You got to win 4, like all that stuff. The Saints are easy. The Saints is beat the Rams. That's it. Like, you beat the Rams. Okay, now we got something going here. You lose to the Rams, the playoffs you're probably no longer in the hunt.
It can last if you have talent, and the Saints have some things going for them. They've got a veteran quarterback. They've got a running back who can make plays. They've got some defensive players. They've got energy now playing for Rizzi. So we'll see. I think they still have some flaws, but they're there. But I'd like to go back to that graphic that you just showed of the Bucs. And the one thing that we probably did.
Tony might as well, when Florio asked him, Tony might as well have just got a whoopee cushion and just went the whole time instead of talking whatever he just said about the Saints. He basically said, yeah, I mean, they got some talent or something. So I don't know, man. Sometimes you live and sometimes you learn. Anyways, hey, back to the Bucs. That was wild. I've never seen such a defer of man. I just noticed. So my hat, this is the Mardi Gras Pelicans hat. So it's like the green, white, or green, yellow, and purple. And the green part is the green screen is picking up the green part. So you can see through the green part. Isn't that crazy? Like you can kind of see through that part of the hat. That is nuts. Wow. Okay. A little cinematic magic right there.
The note is
cinemagic.
Look at week 2.
Cinematic magic.
In Detroit. A win against the Lions. The only loss the Lions had was to the Bucs. So let's take that for what it's worth.
Yeah, but okay, this is a good example, ladies and gentlemen, of like I always talk about how interceptions should be like there should be 2 different versions of interceptions because the farther away you get from a stat, like wins and losses, interceptions, whatever, people forget the context. At Detroit looks like an insane win, right? Well, let's look at that box score. I mean, Tampa they had 216 yards of offense. The Lions had 463. The Lions won YPP by a whole yard. They had 146 yards passing. They had averaged 3 yards a carry. The Lions averaged 5.1 yards a carry. You look at this and you're like, how the hell did Detroit lose this game? You know, like Detroit had 12 more first downs. They had almost 40 more plays. Like Detroit dominated this game. Dominated the game. If you look at, let's see how the hell it happened. I mean, there's an interception here. There's a downs. I mean, but like the further away you get from this, the more it turns into, oh, they went to Detroit and won. Good win. But when you look at it, you're like, they actually kind of played like garbage. Like they kind of played horrible in that game.
Yeah, they can play with anyone. They can play with anyone. They can beat anyone. They just have to start winning more games, or they're going to run out of games with which they can catch the Atlanta Falcons. Hi, it's Mike Florio.
All right, there you go. Well, it's a race. It's a race to the top of the NFC South. Saints one game at a time for the Falcons, and the Bucs is really like who screws up less, because for the Bucs, like they just got to kind of steady the course, win the games they should, take care of business, and they'll probably win the division. The Falcons, I would say, are the third team in the South. If they were all in a tournament, I think Saints and the Bucs are 1 and 2. Falcons are third. Panthers are 4. And then the Saints, they got to go on a run. So we'll see. Let me know in the comments below. What do you think? Can the Saints still win the NFC South? I will see you in the next video.